I go to Red Wing. Red Wing boots are expensive, and the guy, like the salesman at Red Wing Boots, is just like, finally, because all they sell is work boots, and they're like $300 work boots. You go in there during the day, and he's just like, hey, hey man, how you doing? And it's like, oh, I'm doing okay. I'm just looking at boots. Everyone I pick up, like discreetly looking at the price, going, fuck. My dad is like, so how you doing? He just kept asking me, and so how you doing? I'm like, yeah, I'm fine, and yeah, okay. Like he kept repeating himself, kind of like Marcus with the we got to win the pennant. I'm just like, this guy didn't tell me like about shoes or something. He just keeps asking me how I am over and over, and like, I'm not going to steal anything. There's only one boot here. Like they're all the same left foot or whatever. I'm not going anywhere. Like either tell me about the boots or shut up. So anyway, I was just like, all right, yeah. Oh, I got to go. And I like left. And it was before cell phone. So I'm like, oh, I'm late. Like run out the door. Anyway, I'm just like, fuck, I don't want to steel toe boots. So I like walk over to Payless. It's in the same shopping plaza. They have boots that looked like steel toe boots, but were like $20 and did not have steel toe. And I'm like, hey, if I buy these boots, can I return them? And they're like, yeah, if you have the receipt. So I buy them and I bring them to the office. I'm like, hey, do these look good? And my boss is like, yeah, look fine. I'm like, but meanwhile, like the OSHA rules are, when I was vacuuming those carpets, I was supposed to be in steel-toe boots. And let me tell you, after vacuuming carpets, like 300 feet of carpet in work boots, you get to the metal doorknob to unlock the next door, man. It's like lightning bolts would shoot into my hands from putting the key in. I'm like, oh! Constant electric shocks. I learned to like every doorknob. I would like slap with the back of my hand, and then I would touch it. Like for whatever reason, that would do it. I don't know why.
Yeah, ground yourself.
Yeah, I would ground myself, and then I would do it.
Yeah, the factory I worked at where I needed steel toe boots, they used to just give me like $100 voucher, and I'd go to a place in Niagara Falls, and I like walked around like in multiple boots because I knew, I'm like, I have zero interest in buying another pair of boots until I can. Yeah. So I'm gonna find the best, and there was some Timberland boots, like they because I have fat feet apparently, or wide feet I should say. So like they were the best boots I ever had. I bought them. All I had to do was change out the inserts every 3 months. So anyone listening, if you buy shoes, boots, whatever that have removable inserts, and like every 3 months, if you use them regularly, is when you're supposed to. The outside of the shoe or boot is going to last you apparently for an extended amount of time, but the cushion, the inside, will not. So you want to change those out every 3 months, which is
that makes sense because
Hold on. I'm not done. I am not done. They changed. They had a truck come with shoes and stuff I could buy from. Like near the end of my tenure at this factory, I walked on this. I'm like, "Hey, look, this is what I got. Do you have it?" They're like, "No." I'm like, "Then I don't care." And I went into the office. I was like, "Hey, look, they don't got what I want, and I have the thing, so I can go to the place, get the exact same boot, the exact same size, and I don't have to fuck around." And they're like, "No, you gotta buy from them." So I bought some other ones, absolutely rancid. They were awful. They sucked. They fucking sucked. Which made it really easy for me to quit that job.
That's some bullshit. Like, look, if I have my workers on their feet for 12 hours, I want them to be safe. I want to follow OSHA regulations, but I want them to be as comfortable as possible because I don't want them all trying to get out early, always trying to get on the ground, tie their shoe, and adjust their boot. I want them to be like a machine for my job. You know what I mean? If it costs me $100 per person for a year, that's fine. You know,
this knowledge I have of shoes with insoles came into play when we went to Vegas.
Okay.
You had those Converse with a hole in them, and you're like, fuck these holes. I was like, dude, go buy an insert. It'll be like a brand new shoe. So we went to like a CVS for like $5. You bought the insert, you put it in, you're like, oh, look at this shit. It's like a brand new shoe. An amazing time. An amazing time. Yeah.
I have inserts in all my sneakers now because I have what it's called, the heel thing. a bone spur on my heel that
All right.
that is a symptom. It's not a cause. It's a symptom of plantar fasciitis. The fascia that goes down the back of your calf, big calves, and I guess my whole life I've been walking on my heel and fucking it up, and it made the bone grow that way, like on a curve. You know?
Oh shit.
Anyway, so anyway, I went to a podiatrist. Now I have to do these exercises and get these inserts and all this other shit. But anyway, yeah, inserts.
It's amazing how much an insert on your shoe changes. Just like everything about like, you know, your like it aligns your like hips, your back, like just everything just feels better.
Yeah, I mean, as long as you get the right one, you get a bad one, and it's just like you're just like stepping on random things.
Yeah,
you got to get a good one.
Yeah, but if you have a shoe or like sneaker or whatever for like 6 months, you've been using it for a lot, put an insert in. Like it's gonna feel better.
I recommend. There's a store called Fleet Feet. It's a chain.
Is it?
They sell inserts and they'll cut them to your shoe, and if you don't like them or whatever, they'll return the cut down insert. I like that. I mean, it's probably a little bit more expensive than doing a Dr. Scholl's yourself, but at least it's done right. You know,
Dr. Scholl's is fairly expensive, actually. Yeah. You know, I mean, like you have to take your shoes off. You almost have to barefoot on that like pedestal they have just to find out the number they tell you to grab, and then you gotta hope that number one fits the shoe you have. As I haven't done it yet. I've gotten the number because it was pre-COVID, way pre-COVID, when I didn't mind taking my shoes off and stepping on barefoot stuff. But I never bought it. I don't know if it like adjusts with the width of your foot, depending on the number, or if the number is like the certain width. Just like I have wide feet, so like I need the wide foot. I'm more of a New Balance person now. Like I see those like dad starter packs and white New Balance shoes. It's like, hey man, they fit.
They're good for your feet. New Balance. I found a pair of. I went and I had these foot problems, and because I wore Converse for like
ever
15 years.
Oh,
you know, and they're
20, easy 20 years.
Probably.
Easy 20. It was. You were definitely wearing them in high school, man.
Yeah, I was. So. You know,
multi-colors, multi-fashion, multi-everything.
Yeah, I mean, mostly did black, but I would do like black on black and black on gray and whatever. Anyway, so I wore them for like almost 20 years, and they're garbage. You know, like they look great, but you know what? There's like nothing there. So.
Oh yeah, they're not good for your feet, but they're decent for style.
Yeah.
If you mow some lawns before you go out, I guess.
I had worn Nikes as a kid on and off, you know, and I went to the store and I was trying all these different, you know, I tried on New Balance and Asics. Those were two recommended. And then I found these Nikes that have, they just worked good for my situation. I don't know if I'd recommend for everybody, but then I ended up buying 4 pairs because they were on sale. It was like buy one, get one 60% off. And I was just like, all right. And then I saw another one on Amazon for cheap later. And I was like, all right. So now I have 4 pairs. So I have tons of sneakers now. Half of them I probably never wear again because they're like Converse and Puma. And then I have, like 4 pairs of Nikes I bought, you know, over the course of a year.
So the sister that caught me with porn, at one point, her and I had the same foot size. I'm younger than she is, but we had the same foot size, and she had some Reeboks, and they fit me so good. Like that's what made me a huge Reebok person. Like I was never a Michael Jordan fan, so anything Nike I was already kind of against. But like then all of a sudden, like I put on these Nike cross trainers, I believe is what they were, and they were perfect. They fit me perfect. I love them, and she was fine with me wearing them. At first, she's like, yeah, whatever. Which is why I probably shouldn't have thought that she would care so much about all my porn. But, yeah,
it wasn't even that much. It really wasn't.
It was a lot at the time. You know?
Yeah, sure, at the time, like because nobody had anything. But
there was a lot.
There was less pictures on that disc than in one Playboy magazine.
Right, yeah, that's true. But like, so I'm like, oh, Reebok is where it's at. Like, I like the way this fits. I like the way it feels. I don't like Michael Jordan. I don't care for Nike. Magic Johnson was my favorite basketball player at the time. So like,
did he do Reebok? Was he sponsored by Reebok?
no.
No.
He may have been sponsored by Nike, as far as I know. I just know
Probably they really got in there. They really got in there and got like all-star basketball players. They just like collected them. They still do.
I remember hearing the story about Michael Jordan in like when people were pushing to buy. He was stone cold, no emotion, and every time he left a meeting, like his lawyer had no idea how he felt, and like he left Nike and he was like, I like what they have to say. And he was like, I had no idea what he wanted. Because he didn't show any emotion. When they talked, he basically looked like he didn't give a fuck what they had to say. It wasn't enough. So, but like Nike offered him so much that he couldn't say no, type of thing. And he was like, yeah, let's go with them.
Sure.
But at the time, Nike was a no-name brand, kind of.
Yeah, well, they were around, but they weren't known as like the very most expensive.
They're like
best.
all the other brands now.
Right.
Oh, you got Jordans? No. Oh, you got what else is there? Type of thing. Like, I guess Reebok would be the like, oh, this person. But yeah,
so
the cross trainers. But then the cross trainers changed, and I didn't like the way they were when they changed. Like the style of the shoe, I was like, I don't like this at all. This is fucking awful. And then it turned me off the shoes in general until our buddy George, who used to live with Marcus, who was supposed to be on the podcast 20 minutes ago.
It was like an hour ago.
He sold me like 10 pairs of sneakers because we had like the same foot size for like $40. Like 10 sneakers for $40. It was a great deal for me.
Yeah.
I have no fashion sense. Zero fashion sense. I'm not gonna lie. None. George is Puerto Rican. He has fashion sense. He gave me some of his shoes. He basically gave me his shoes, is what he did. One of them was a pair.
He had a ton of sneakers, man. He had that small bedroom. He had like a wall of sneaker boxes. He worked at
it took an hour
store
to get rid of those shoes, like to pack those shoes up that he had. He used to wear like Foot Locker or something. But he has style. And one of the shoes he gave me was a New Balance. And it was the perfect, like, width, everything about it. I was like, oh, shit. I'm like, this is so comfortable. I started buying, like, T-shirts that matched the color of the shoes just so I, like, matched up. Like, he definitely helped me with my shoe game.
One of my most expensive most comfortable pairs of sneakers ever were New Balance, but they were also the ugliest pair of sneakers I ever wore as like since I was a kid. But they were very comfortable.
New Balance is weird. They're either like suede and like really nice, or all white leather and like they're just awful. There's really no in between. It's like Bill Burr talking about Asian drivers. Either they're fucking Tokyo drifting at fucking 90 miles an hour, pulling up into a fucking parking spot, or they're stuck in the middle of an intersection being like, I'm sorry, it's too easy. I fell asleep. I don't know what's going on. Like, it's not that all Asians are bad drivers. It's just like some are like for the future. Like some are just like, it's too easy. I don't care anymore. That's the down sneaker. You're not gonna win over people being like, oh, there's some nice New Balance.
No, and I don't get it, right? Like all shoe companies have money, right? Even if they have less of a profit than the others. In the beginning, Nike wasn't like, we have all this money, we could buy all the sports, but they decided early, we got to put a lot of money into advertising and it'll pay off. If it's a risk they took. And
well, I think the risk they took was on Jordan.
Well, they took other risks before that too, but yeah, I mean, they took them on other athletes. Like, for example, they decided we're going to get into NHL, we're going to get into hockey. This was in the 80s.
Gretzky?
And do you know the Gretzky story?
No, I don't know the Gretzky story other than that Bo don't know hockey.
Oh, and yeah, Bo and Gretzky, and yeah, so they Wayne Gretzky, probably the greatest hockey player of all time. I mean, if you went head to head with Bobby Orr, Bobby Orr might
No,
win,
Bobby
but
Orr was defense, right?
I don't even remember. But he scored a lot of goals because he was just really good. But the
I mean,
the
my
people,
personal opinion for best hockey player of all time is Mario Lemieux.
and he's
But
up there. He's up there too.
oh
He's
yeah,
probably him and Gretzky are probably better than Bobby Orr. But when Bobby Orr played, people weren't as good as Gretzky and Lemieux, right? Like Bobby Orr inspired Gretzky and Lemieux, and a whole generation of people who became way better.
yeah.
Whereas like Bobby Orr like was skating circles around people, but they sucked back then. They could barely play, you know. So anyway, but the point is that Wayne Gretzky was like he was already known as the greatest. It was a big deal. He was getting traded to the Los Angeles Kings from Edmonton, and then it was like, okay, now he's going to be on. Yeah, they're all National Hockey League, but now that the greatest player is playing for Los Angeles, there's going to be lots of TV airtime. So they want to get the Nike. They might have even done this when he was on the Oilers, but either way, when they decided to get into hockey, it was because of Gretzky. Nike's like, we're going to get into hockey, so they had to deal with Gretzky's team. They're gonna sponsor their jerseys. There'd be a Nike swish, since they have the swish on every jersey, right? And first game, Gretzky always had this thing. I forgot if it was his right side or his left side. He tucked in one side of the jersey for good luck. So ever since he was a little kid, something happened in his life. He decided that was lucky, and he wasn't going to stop doing it. They printed the Nike logo on the side. Gretzky tucked into his hockey pants. So the first game, just the logo is tucked in, and he's out scoring goals, and Nike's on the phone with the team like, what is he doing? What's Wayne doing? Why is he doing it? And they're like, well, you put the logo there. You made the jerseys. You didn't pay attention. Wayne Gretzky always tucks in that one side of his jersey. And like immediately they're like, we got to print more jerseys and send them over. That like immediately, like maybe 2 games, the next 2 games, like there was new jerseys, and they didn't have a problem. They just moved it to the other side, just because of
Sports players are so superstitious. So superstitious. One, I'm a superstitious person myself. I'm not a sports person.
Most people are a little bit.
But like, every time I tuck my shirt in this way, this happens. I'm gonna continue until it doesn't, and then when it doesn't stop, I mean, yeah, they know they're good, but they also think that like if they change it up, maybe they won't be as good. Like
Right.
Craig McTavish skated when there was supposed to be helmets, but he was grandfathered into the rule of not wearing a helmet.
Yeah.
And then it's like, why don't you wear a helmet? I played better without one. And that was it. Like, that's how he thought. Yeah. That's how he felt. Like, there's so much superstition in sports. It's crazy to me that so many people that, like, at least played sports in, like, high school, they're like, well, I'll believe in that stuff. It's like, well, maybe if you did.
Yeah, maybe you'd be in the pros.
Maybe I'd know your name.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, look, scientifically, mathematically, these things don't help. But you're talking about the human body, and you're in such tight competition. You watch the Olympics; they won by 1/10 of a second. It's like 1/10 of a second. Like, you have to do everything you can, and if you are more comfortable because you believe in the placebo effect of tucking in one side of your jersey,
right?
Then you just got to do it.
I'm a huge supporter of the placebo effect. That's one of the reasons why I think like masks work. Like, you want to talk to me about masks? Like, well, I don't know if they work. It's like, I think placebo effect works. So if you think that the mask is working, it's gonna work. Like, there's gonna be a percentage of people who won't be as sick because they're wearing masks because they think the masks work. It is just a scientific fact as far as I'm concerned with a placebo effect. Granted, they may still get the COVID-19, but maybe it won't be as bad.
Yeah, I mean, I won't say it's like, if you believe, it's hard to explain because there is something to it. There's something to it.
Right.
There's this guy named Wim Hof, and like before I was kind of like, Yeah, no, but and like if you're tricked into it, like the movie Dumbo, right? They're like, yeah, Dumbo, hold this feather, you could fly, and he's like, I can fly, and it's like, yeah, dude, you could just fly. Like, it's not a feather. Like that feather's not going to hold your fat elephant ass in the air.
Right.
But you know, so there's something to that. So I thought, when people believe in it, but then I worked on this show. It was a science show in which we had scientists come in and figure out why people can do certain things, like people do chew glass and swallow it, and people like this one guy like dragged a car with his nipples on chains. Some of the stuff was gross, but these people already existed in the world. We were just figuring out the science behind it. And
Yeah.
this one guy's name's Wim Hof. He's known as the Iceman. I think he's from Greenland. I forgot what country he's from. He's not from this country. But we had him come in. We flew him in. We pack him in ice, right? And they've got thermometer like sensors all over him. And we packed him in a case of ice. It was like a phone booth we built of ice. It was just a plexiglass booth. And I'm dumping ice on the guy. And he's just in like a bathing suit, totally covered in ice. And we were measuring his body temperature dropping, right? And then he raised the temperature up with his mind by several degrees. And it's like, this is measurable science. This guy can do this. And whether it's by like, I don't know, flexing his muscles or breathing harder or whatever it is, he puts his mind to it and he can make his body do it. And it sounds like a superhuman strength. And it almost is, right? I mean, yeah, he's not Wolverine, like catching bullets in his skin and like healing and bouncing them out. But like, this guy can actually change his body temperature with controlled, mental and breathing when he's encased in ice. It's pretty impressive. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, but there was, like if you think you can do some things, like, you might you're more able to do something you think you can than do something like
You think you can't?
you can't. Like
Yeah.
even like either way, like you're gonna be able to do it or not. But if you're like, no, I can do this. I got this. Trust me. Don't worry about it. Like your body could be like, all right, like, I guess we're gonna do this. Like it'll build up that energy. It'll build up that heat. It'll figure it'll way out. Granted, like over an extended period of time, obviously he will freeze to death.
Yeah,
But
yeah. You can't leave him in the middle of the tundra like that. But
right,
and
like,
he was training to do it for a long time too. It's not like, oh, I think I can do it and just does it, but there is something to it, right? Like,
oh yeah, it wasn't the first time he ever tried it. I'm
No.
sure it was the first time it wasn't. Like, oh, I think I could do a backflip, as opposed to no, I've done backflips. I can do it from any height, type of thing. Yeah.
there's power. There's power in that.
Yeah, there was a huge thing with the placebo effect because I mean you do a scientific study with like some people are drinking alcohol and some people aren't, but everyone that's drinking all of a sudden starts getting drunk. Everyone starts getting drunk. Why? You weren't drinking alcohol. Why do you think you're drunk? Oh, because I thought I was drinking alcohol. So then all of a sudden my body remembers this is how I act.
Mm-hmm. And, it goes with other things too, right? Like,
I would go with anything. I mean, the whole, like back to the mask. I'm not going to get sick if I wear a mask. Or it's going to be very light. If you're mentally prepared for that, like you might be mentally prepared to fight it off a lot better than, say, someone who doesn't believe that.
sure.
I'm gonna wear my mask. I'm gonna be good. Don't worry about me. I'm gonna be all right. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. I feel like you have a better chance of than say that people are like, nah, masks don't work. Don't worry about it. I'm good. I'll be all right. There's a different there's a different mentality to it than no. I'm being protected. So then you start mentally thinking you're protected, but then also you're doing other things like
Yeah,
You know,
you're probably doing
not
subconscious things too, like keeping distant and
right. You know, you're not. You don't realize that like subconsciously you're 6 feet away from people. You know, like subconsciously you're popping multivitamins and hanging out in the sun and doing like, just little things like, oh, I've been taking more zinc in my diet. Why? I don't know. Just damn. You know? But like, also you throw all those on top of wearing a mask. Yeah, you're probably gonna be a little bit better than the person who thinks that wearing a mask is fascism and trying to kill the independent spirit of America.
listen, man. All I know is if we have alien DNA, I'm just kidding.
Human
I took a
sperm.
break. I I was doing all this like I was in this deep hole of like I was given a day to like do this 22 pages of legal documents in which I was going to be going into debt for 30 years. So like I didn't pay attention to like any news or social media for 2 days. I was just like, I need to read what this clause means. I need to read what this law means. I need to figure this out. And you talk to these lawyers and so I didn't pay any attention to it. And then I'm just like, I got back on social media and people are like talking about having sex with demons and like aliens DNA. And I'm just like, what the
I
fuck is going on?
I gave zero interest into the whole thing because like I don't I don't know if that's what she said or when she said it or the context
Yeah.
behind it.
I mean,
And
so
I know
this is, I read an article about it. So like, because I was like, I don't have time to figure this out. Let me look up
I'm not
what's going on.
I have zero interest in double checking anything shit.
Oh
Oh,
yeah.
don't listen to her. You know what else she said? It's like, I don't care. I'm done already. One, like I feel like mask worked. Personally, I think mask worked. I've listened
Sure.
to a person you don't care for, Ben Shapiro, say, wear a mask. They work.
Yeah,
I don't know why no one does.
he's a smart, charismatic guy. I don't like the company that employs him. I don't agree with him on everything politically, but it's more that I just I find that life is too short that I don't want to listen to people tell me political opinions anymore. Um,
I
like
I guess I'm in a different. I don't mind that. I like to listen to people who. So I like Ben Shapiro personally. Well, I don't know personally. I've never met him personally. I shouldn't say it like that. I like the way he talks. He comes off as very intelligent
he's an
and
intelligent
he has
guy.
very good points. Whether you agree with his points or not, if you tell him you don't agree with his points and you make a valid argument, he'll go, well, I guess we just disagree to disagree. Like he doesn't hate you, he doesn't shit on you, he doesn't do anything. He really does. He goes, hey, like we're not all gonna agree. As long as your intention is good, I'm fine with it. Type of, which is I feel like most people, like if your
Yeah,
intention is good, but you feel like we need to do it this way, but he thinks you need to do it this way. We both want to do well by the people, type of thing.
sure.
As far as who employs him, I don't care. I
Yeah,
know for a fact that most media networks are paid for by people that have zero interest in my life or most people's lives.
right.
Sometimes
So
you just get the money where you can.
yeah, I mean, basically, he works for a big oil and gas propaganda company. That's what it is. Like I have more trust in the old newspapers because they've been following. Initially they just sold the news. You know what I mean? Like that's it. They tell the news, the facts, and they abide by fact checking and facts. And they fuck up. They do, but
Oh,
you
a
know,
lot.
sure.
Unfortunately, a lot of the places have been fucking up too much, where a lot of people just don't trust the news
Well,
media.
that's the problem though, is because doing news for real and doing it honestly costs money. And it
Right.
used to be,
Hence the movie Goodbye and Good Luck.
right.
Or Good Night
So,
and Good Luck. Like that,
right.
that, that, that was like the change of like, oh, we want news to make money. News is supposed to be,
It actually came much later than that, but that was part of the movie.
yeah,
In the up until like the 80s, really, it was like you had to, if you were going to have a TV station, you are required to have this much hours of news and education per day. I forgot the year it changed. I think 89 or something. But like you're required, or you don't get a TV station. You're not on the air if you don't give us this much real news and non-biased. It had to be if someone presented a political point, you had to have a counterpoint. If someone was accused of something, you had to reach out to that person who was accused and ask them if they wanted to defend themselves and make a statement on your news source within a day. I mean, excuse me, within a week. So like there's strict rules, and then what's that?
You were held accountable.
Yeah, and they stopped taking money from the FCC, and they started making the FCC more political. Like at one point, so during the Reagan's administration, they took away that rule, the fairness doctrine. You doesn't have to be fair and equal anymore, but still, some of these places still stuck by it, and they considered news like, okay, that's a department we're just going to lose money in. We'll make it up by having All in the Family be a hit show and selling commercials for Tide and stuff, but we're still having our news, and the old school broadcasting companies still have their news, but now you've got cable news companies, and now the cable news, it's a little bit more of a Wild West, and then the internet is even more Wild West because no one's checking that at all. It's just like
nowadays that people are definitely checking internet more than they were, say, 5 years ago.
Yeah, but you still have it's pretty crazy out there still.
There was a real interesting thing. I'm a huge Jesse Ventura person.
Mm-hmm.
I've bought almost every single one of his books. I like his politics a lot more than I like almost any other politics. At one point, he was talking about on Joe Rogan, because he had a defamation of character lawsuit against the American Sniper guy, or
right,
whatever. Because the American Sniper guy in his book said that he
said something happened that he didn't happen.
Basically, he beat up Jesse Ventura for talking shit about the SEALs. And Jesse Ventura was like, I never, ever talk shit about the SEALs. And this guy was lying, and then he wound up getting killed, and there's this huge lawsuit, and then people were like, oh my God, I can't believe you're going against a guy and trying to take money away from his widow. And he was like, he lied about me. He called up Clint Eastwood and was like, you put this in your book, I'm going to sue you. This is what's going on. And that's why it had nothing to do with the movie.
Right.
But there was a point in the case where after that was done, almost all the media, you watch it on Joe Rogan, I highly recommend anyone watching it. The media came in and basically got leniency to discredit or say whatever they want against anyone, whether it was true or false. Basically, they could talk shit about anyone they want, and they did not need to have facts or any factual information about it, which led into, as far as I'm concerned, the Tulsi Gabbard being a Russian asset. Even though Hillary Clinton, after like a week, was like, I didn't mean Russian, I meant Republican. After that, people were still like, she's a Russian asset. What's the difference? And it's like,
I mean, so I was watching.
That was able to be passed right around the same time with the Jesse Ventura thing. I'll go back online. I'll go find it. I'll cut it and I'll post it. But he was like, yeah, the news went in so that they can basically say whatever they want about anyone and not be held liable.
I don't know exactly the situation here, but it comes down to, if you have a guest on, right?
Yeah.
That person, that's why like when you see the local news reporter go out to a storm, and they interview a couple idiots in the street who's like, the tornado came through here. And then somebody else, well, it was a tornado, all right. You know what I mean? Because it's like, all right, I got two people to say they saw it because I wasn't here. I didn't see it. You know what I mean? So
we're not going to fact check that the tornado came through when we can look at the devastation.
Right. Well, the thing is, you don't even need to fact check it, because it's like, local residents say a tornado came through here. That's true. Local residents did say a tornado came through here. It's really about how you say it. The problem is, nowadays with how the media, like the news stories are not even a 24-hour news cycle anymore. And they're overlapping, and there's so many people who first of all, like they'll read a headline and then won't even really fully pay attention to it. And then it's a game of telephone. And social media is like a high speed, huge game of telephone. Instead of whispering the wrong thing in one person's ear, you're whispering the wrong thing in many people's ears. So
right. And
it's
if you
really
have the right
crazy.
headline, well, what's the point of reading it if I know what if I read the headline and I'm like, hey, I think exactly what they're saying, I don't need to read this. Like, it just bolsters, and then of course with the whole and what's it, anagrams, or like, oh, if you're looking for one thing, we're gonna keep going after that one thing. We were gonna keep showing
Algorithm?
Algorithm. Thank you.
Yeah.
So it just keeps bolstering, and you just start feeling to yourself like, all these people think the same way I do. And it's like, no, that not everyone does, and not all this is true, but you don't have to fact check any of it. Or you don't even have to say with Tulsi Gabbard, you don't have to put in a thing like, we didn't mean Russian asset, we meant this.
Right.
You don't have to say like, hey, we messed up. You just go, fuck it. Let's go on to the next news cycle.
The thing is, they don't have to apologize because they said Hillary Clinton said she was. Do you know what I mean? That was the news story.
Yeah. But here,
so it doesn't matter what they say. They're just like, no, she did. We heard her say it.
I'm not a Hillary Clinton fan at all.
No, but you see what I'm saying? It's like,
but she did amend her statement. But
right. And then they didn't broadcast it.
No one decided to publish that.
Right.
She amended her statement. And I know you, because now that you took the political compass and you're near Tulsi Gabbard as far as where you stand. Like, I really wish you took it before the DNC, so you could follow her a little bit more.
I'm so annoyed by the way it works. Like, I hate that Iowa and South Carolina are 6 months voting ahead of New York. I'm
fine with that.
Why?
Why? Because New York's always blue.
Oh, yeah, but okay,
it's
fine.
Like,
but
it's like, why would you?
I don't mean New York, but like, why? Like, when you're the 40th state in line to vote.
But I mean, if I was a Democrat, I would go after the red states. Who likes the who in the red states? Because the blue states are always going to vote blue no matter what.
Right. But no,
but like, if you want to win that, especially swing states are where it matters. Like, who are the swing state people looking for?
Right.
Who do they want? That's who you should go after. Like New York, California, if you're Republican, Texas, almost the whole Midwest, like, you're gonna get the vote no matter what.
Right, but again, like this, I don't like the Electoral College, and I don't like only 2-party system.
I hate the 2-party system. I hate the fact that I think the last time 3 people were on on the debate stage was with Ross Perot, Bill Clinton, and what was it? Was it Dole? Bob Dole?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, why is there not at least 4 people every time? 3 people minimum.
It's crazy.
There should be a 3-person minimum for presidential debate.
because that's a tiebreaker, right? You don't have all this. You can get more shit done because it's constantly like, no, they did. It's like tiebreaker, like there's a third party.
That's what pisses me off about Jesse Ventura. He has a name in politics and just in general, and he hasn't jumped in. He's not a part of it because he would easily get enough percentage to be a part of the debates. And once they go on the debate stage, he's going to take votes from both parties. He's going to take votes from both parties because he's for Medicare for all, Biden and Trump or not. Jesse Ventura is. Jesse Ventura is absolutely for legalizing marijuana. He's against the drug war. Biden and Trump obviously are not. Like, he's going to steal. He will take a lot of votes away from a lot of people. And I feel like the majority of Americans, that's what they. Oh, what do you think about the drug war? I don't care anymore. How much money is it costing me out of my paycheck? And the story, like, this is how much the drug war is. If they came out and said, this is how much the drug war is costing, you guys okay with it? Nah, I'm fine. I know enough people that do drugs.
You just if you look at I mean, it's also once it starts one place, right? Like think about so Colorado. It's like, so wait a minute, you guys are telling me you have this much tax that you've collected, and all right, tell me how many of these people have gone crazy and killed people? Really? Oh,
Right. Oh,
yeah. Why
yeah.
not?
Marijuana
What?
is now
We'll do
paid
that.
for your schools. The tax on marijuana alone has pretty much covered your school system, so you can pay teachers and just everyone
Look,
to be taught.
I've never smoked it. I don't plan to ever smoke it, but still, it's like to me, it's like
It's a
you
good
look,
thing.
you look at the pros and cons. You look at the numbers, right?
Yeah,
If it's legal there and they haven't had problems, but they have this huge influx of taxes, maybe it's worth it.
I've never met a pothead that was violent. I'll tell you right now. Like, unless they're drinking, I've never like. Oh, you want like I smoke now? I absolutely do. I'm not gonna lie.
I have, but
But
I've
like
got some stories.
you know, it like depending on what strain you use, hybrid is the one. It's like I don't know what I like. I'll just do hybrid. You just kind of like chill the fuck out. Like I've been smoking with like some bartenders. We'll just smoke up, go in, have a beer, but you won't have like 10 beers. You'll maybe have like 2 because you're just like, like I'm not trying to reach that high. I'm already down. Like I'm already here. If you do like a certain, one of them is more of a hind or mind thing, and some people find it more creative. And the other one is like,
Excuse me.
if you're having trouble sleeping, there's joints I've smoked. I'm just like, see you guys tomorrow. I'm going to bed. Like, I'm done. Like you just pass out. So if you're having trouble sleeping, you smoke a little bit before you go to bed, and you're good. You're gonna have a great night's sleep. Not for everyone, but as an asthmatic, it doesn't bother my asthma.
Yeah, it's
And then
interesting.
also Colorado legalized shrooms, medicinal mushrooms.
I mean, if you can have standards in place, you also have a safer product too.
Yes, that's
I'm not. I'm not saying everything should be legalized and then monitored or whatever. I think that's too much. But
that's why I had no problem smoking. I'll go to a dispensary where everything has been like checked out. Like it's not going to be laced with anything. It is what it is. It has the amount of THC that they say, amount of CBD, what it says, and I'll do it. If I buy it off someone I'm not going to buy it off someone from the street because I don't know what's in it. I really don't. I don't even know if it's actually marijuana.
Who knows?
Right. So it's like, yeah, please let me have the government check this out so I don't fuck myself up.
Yeah.
It was like when Trump was talking about vaping. And he was like, if you buy vapes from someone else on the street, that's what's been killing people. Not the FDA certified vapes, but vapes people have been made on their own. That was actually what has been killing people who do vapes. And Kyle Kalinske, who's, I feel like he's pretty good. He's a good person to follow on YouTube. And he's like, did Trump just make a great argument about legalizing drugs? Like, hey,
did.
if you buy it from the government, it's going to be a lot safer. We don't want you dying from this. We know you're going to do it anyways.
I couldn't figure out what was behind Trump's crusade against vaping. I know, look, vaping's not good for you. It's not. Like, but lots of things aren't.
Too many people were dying from it, and people were like, "Why are people dying from vaping?" It's a vaporized moisture, right? With whatever. So they had to find out. It was a weird thing, because like people love to vape. They do.
Some people do, yeah.
I'll just sit there at fucking Hollywood Boulevard and just clouds of smoke will all of a sudden go. People love it. The flavors, the scents. It's like, all right, vaping was supposed to be better for you than smoking. And then people added marijuana to it or THC to it. And then people started doing their own. And the people that were doing it's like, all right, where are these people dying from? Oh, when people make it on their own and now it's not certified. That's usually where it is. Okay, yeah, that's a great argument to end the war on drugs. If the government was like, hey, countries that are doing all this, plus the country, oh man, you weren't here last week. I talked about how Ben Shapiro and Cenk Uygur had an amazing debate. They debated each other. It was really, really good. If you
you mentioned that, yeah.
Yeah, I highly recommend anyone.
I don't know who Cenk Uygur is. I don't know who that is.
He's from the Young Turks.
Okay.
Very left. He's very left.
Yeah, yes and no. I don't know. Sometimes I'm like, I don't agree with this guy at all.
Oh, why? But he's left. He is very left. The thing with his counterpart is Anna Kasparian, and she argued with, or debated, I'm sorry, not argued with, who's the one girl that in Trump We Trust, the female that is friends with Bill Maher but very right wing.
I don't know.
Oh, fuck me. Anyway, she's a very right wing female that wrote a lot of books, and Trump used to.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. Ann Coulter.
Ann Coulter and Kasparian, they had a really good debate, but both of them made really good points on the same issue, I thought. Right? And Ann Coulter was like, we need a wall on the border. And Ann Kasparian was like, what if we legalize drugs so that these countries didn't have to use slave labor to do them, and we're purchasing them legally? Maybe the people who live in who are trying to flee those countries were able to stay. And I thought both of them were really good points.
Immigration is something I've never really dug into because I don't have an answer. Do you know what I mean? Like some things it's like, yeah, wear a mask. Like I don't. Right. But like it's more complicated. It's a complicated thing because
immigration for me was kind of simple because it was weird because Bernie Sanders in 2015 was for a wall. He absolutely 100% wanted a wall. He said the only people who don't want it are the Koch brothers. And, the people who are like, well, who's going to pick your fruit? It's like, do you really want slaves? Like, do you want people working for slave labor? No, I don't. Well, then why would you use that as an excuse for fruit picking? I understand people, I understood the wall, but it's like, why don't we do both? What if we got rid of the war on drugs? So places that are, supporting the drug trade don't have to do it illegally. Maybe now they don't have to come over through the border, through Mexico anymore, illegally. They can have an open trade. Now, that makes sense to me. But also a wall will help in places where it's illegal to cross, which will help with like sex trafficking, things of that, like people who shouldn't be in this country.
I mean, I first of all, here's the thing about the wall. First of all, it's very expensive. It's really, really fucking expensive.
But
and you still have what do you mean?
Yeah.
It's really fucking expensive. It just is. There's unless we do something to offset it, it's a fucking ton of money. And I'm also not sure it's that effective because people can, if you leave miles, like I haven't been to the Mexican border, but the Canadian border, there's like, you can see like 100 miles in either direction and there's nothing stopping you. There's no river. There's no fucking guard. You could just walk into the other country. Yeah. No one will stop you.
Obviously, the wall is on the Mexico border.
No, I know. But what I'm saying is, you can't just leave it unattended because then people can find a way over it. It's not
Yeah,
not a force field.
it's not so much to stop people from being unattended, but there is a lot of illegal things going. Like you can legally come here and claim, there are legal ports of entrance. So if you're
Sure.
coming here illegally, like why are you doing it illegally? What is the I don't know. There was a lot more negative things. That's why I thought like Bernie Sanders at first was 100% for a wall. The Koch brothers.
It's funny. I've never heard that. I know in 2016 he was speaking out against it.
2015, and then when he became like an actual like competitor against Hillary, he changed his point of view, which is really weird. But he used to say, "We don't need a wall. No, we need a wall. The Koch brothers don't want you to have a wall because the illegal immigrants are basically slave labor, and we don't want slaves." That was basically Bernie Sanders. One of the things that I like love Bernie for is he was telling people like big companies who want to pay you less than what you're allowed to get legally want you to come over here. If you're getting $1
you're
in
losing
Mexico,
me on this. How do the Koch brothers factor into the wall? I don't understand.
Oh, the Koch brothers. Are you familiar? You're familiar with the Koch brothers, right?
Yeah, they're like in plastics, which is oil.
No, they're like in everything. The Koch
Right, but
brothers.
that's their main thing, isn't their main thing plastics? I know they're in everything, but
I actually don't know what their main thing is. All right, I'm gonna play ignorance. I know that they're evil. They are definitely anti-American values. They want slave labor.
I'll tell you what the company does. Real quick, I'll tell you what the company does, right? Multinational corporation based in Kansas, involved in manufacturing, refining, distribution of petroleum chemicals, energy, fiber, intermediates, polymers, mineralizers, fertilizers, pulp, paper, chemical tech equipment, ranching, finance, commodities, trading, investing.
Everything.
They do a lot with oil and plastics.
So they're everything, right? They have their hand in everything. Basically. They have their hand in everything, and then they want illegals to come in so they can pay them less. Which is more than what the illegals would be making where they lived, but less than what they should be making as an American citizen.
Sure.
And that's what Bernie Sanders and Trump at the time were against.
Right.
But unfortunately, after 2016 up to 2020, Bernie Sanders is a completely different candidate to me. He's not the same guy.
Yeah. So I don't know. I still think, here's the thing, right? Like I went to college in New York, north of Buffalo, and there was a farm community around the college, and there were people from Mexico working those farms. And look, if they came all the way from Mexico up to there, a wall wasn't going to stop them. Is all I'm saying. And
no, but I believe it's a weird. I believe 55% of the illegals there in this country are through the Mexico border, and like 45% were from flying in. So it's like 50-50. Will the wall help with that? Sure. What does it help with? It helps with not treating people as slaves. But then you throw in.
Hopefully.
Oh, right. But you throw in, because I mean, living in LA, I've learned a lot. A lot of the people I work with, I'm not going to say they're Mexican because I don't want to disrespect them, but they definitely all speak Spanish. So they're Mexico down to be in any country below that.
Yeah, Latin America.
But they're the hardest workers there. They're hands down the hardest workers in the company because the money is good, and that's what they that's more than they ever wanted. There's this weird thing with Americans where they expect more, and then when they get out of college, it's like, oh, I expect this much money. It's like, nah, you don't got that. But Mexicans are like, oh, you're gonna give me this much? Oh, you're gonna pay me $15 an hour? All right, yeah, I'll do the job, and they do it amazingly. Like, if I were to hire anyone, it's like, oh, where'd you move in from? Oh, you're from here, El Salvador. Oh, okay, yeah, you're hired because I know you're gonna bust your ass harder than probably anyone that came out of college thinking that they deserve more money than they do. Uh, but yeah. So there was the whole wall with that. But if you want to throw on the wall with drug trafficking, arms trafficking, child trafficking, I don't understand why people are against it. I know people call
There's
it,
a few reasons.
but I don't
One is
understand
that
why you'd be against possibly, human trafficking and drug trafficking and gun trafficking. Like, why would you be against that?
no, I'm against reducing those things. I just don't think. I think a wall is very expensive. I think the environmental damage it'll do is a lot. I don't have the facts in front of me, but it's not good for the environment and storms and winds and.
Oh, it won't. As far as environment goes, I don't think it's going to affect it as much.
If you look it up, it's not good. They've done studies; it's not good.
It's
But
not bad. I mean,
no,
like,
it's bad. I'll
well,
have to look it up for you. It's bad.
I mean, like, I guess you gotta. It's a self. It's a self fight. Like, what's worse? It's not that it's bad. It's what's worse. Is the effect it has on the environment worse, or is the sex trafficking, the drug trafficking, the arms trafficking worse?
Well, so here's the thing, right? So you're talking about, though, businesses that even if those businesses won't cease to exist if you build a wall, but instead they'll traffic differently.
Right.
That's just, they're going to do it differently.
They're still going to do it, but it's
Yeah.
not going to be as easy, right?
Well, no, it could be even easier.
Oh.
If you make one route harder, they might do a different route. Like sometimes people trafficking aren't coming from other countries. Sometimes they are, of course, but sometimes they're not. So you might see an increase of kidnappings of American children and sex slaves of American children. I don't know. Like, I don't have the information on this, but I do know that the cost is ridiculously high. And I also, like the other day, part of it blew down in the wind. It's like they're not even building this thing right because they're cutting corners like assholes.
Weird that he's trying to, like, postpone the election. I mean, I don't find it weird. I understand it, but especially with the whole
here's the thing with
mail-in voting. It's like, look, if you want to show me something that proves to me that mail-in voting is 100%, that's fine. Because I remember you mail-in voted in 2000, and
mail-in voted all 4 years of college. I've mail-in voted a bunch of years when I was traveling for work. People mail-in vote every year.
Yeah, but do you know if it counted?
They don't count your absentee vote unless the polls are a tie or really close.
Yeah, so, like, I know in what, Jersey, there was one town, like, they had there was like 20% like false. I don't know. It's gotten really bad.
Here's the thing, voting. There have always been people fucking with the election system from the old days where Boss Tweed would make guys change their jackets and go back inside to vote for his guy.
Was it what's that Scorsese movie? No, was it Scorsese with Daniel?
Yeah, that's part of it. Yeah, he put it in there. Yeah,
5 times,
that's happened a million times. The fact that the electronic voting machine company Bush gave a ton of money to, and strangely in these liberal districts the machines malfunctioned. And remember in Ohio that year he got reelected, the machines went down and there's lines around the block.
I think it was a documentary. The guy who actually rigged the machines wound up all of a sudden committing suicide.
Yeah, I mean, so there's always crookedness in it. I'm not sure that mail-in is any less safe than going there and pressing it, filling out a piece of paper, and then scanning it through a Scantron that goes to some. Like, if there was a government agency that ran the voting machines and they were universal everywhere, I think that's probably our best bet. Especially if they were punch card too. Like you punch the whole of who you want to vote. You can't erase it. You can't write another one. It's one punched hole. That's it. And then it was that kind of machine that read the punched holes, and all the machines were the same, and they were all owned by the government. I think that's a better bet than, oh, this third-party corporation that owns most of the voting machines was given $1 million by the candidate. It's like, okay. So, I think they should do something about election reform to make it more accurate. I'm not sure mail-in vote is less accurate. No one's shown me any evidence that it is.
Here's the thing. I don't know who is gonna.
That's the other thing. You don't know who's going to help.
Who's gonna cheat. It could either party could cheat.
Right, and if they're both cheating, then chances are it'll even out if they're cheating at the same level.
Right. I mean, I guess that's the best bet is that they cheat at the same level. But like, I know a lot. Like say Mary Rander.
Okay.
She's like, oh, he doesn't want it because he knows he's gonna lose. Like, I don't know. I don't know if he's gonna lose, and I don't know if but I know for a fact whoever wins and is based on the mail-in voting, the other side is gonna say no, that's bullshit. And that's I'm more worried about that than who's actually gonna win.
Yeah.
I'm also more worried about who Biden's VP is gonna be because I don't think Biden's gonna be the actual nominee. There's no way he could be the nominee.
I don't know if there's a way he can't be the nominee at this point.
Oh, there is. The Democratic convention hasn't happened yet.
True, there is a way. There is a way, but I think it's highly unlikely is all I'm saying.
I don't. This guy, if they say, all right, insert someone, geez, it's probably going to be someone I don't like. Maybe Kamala Harris. Biden may go, hey, you know what? With this pandemic, I'm too weak. I'm too old. I can't serve the people. But this is who our nominee is going to be. And then all of a sudden, Kamala Harris comes out on the stage. I can 100% see that happening. I'll say 95%. I won't say 100. I can see that. I can see him putting someone else in because they haven't technically said it's going to be Biden yet.
No, well, because it's not him until the convention. They have to all deliver there's that whole thing they do, and they pass shit around.
Yeah.
Which is so confusing to me. But they could, but that's why you vote for delegates too, right? You think they're going to vote for something, but you don't know who they are. Nobody even researches who they are.
Right.
But that would actually be a brilliant political move if this whole time they just put a milquetoast guy up.
That's genius.
And because then you don't have the way it is now.
Right.
Everything you do is under a microscope.
Yeah, Amy Klobuchar is whatever. Yeah, she's very milquetoast.
Right.
Which means that she'll get she's not Biden. Biden was trash, but she's not Trump.
Yeah, he's not that bad. Like, people don't like him, but he didn't commit crimes.
Biden?
What crimes did he commit?
I mean, just look at the Black Lives Matter protests.
What crime did he commit? I don't know what crime he committed.
But what crime did he help? Is really.
No. I'm not saying he has helped anyone. I'm just saying we have a president who has actually committed crimes.
Biden definitely has committed. Here's the thing that someone made a comment. They were like, name a president that is not liable for war crimes. All right.
I mean that's history goes to the victor in that. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
That's never.
If you're the vice president, you're just as liable as probably the president. So, as far as I'm concerned, every president is could be probably convicted of war crimes. But with the '94 crime bill, which has hurt minorities, you go with the. He was the sponsor of the loan, the loan, college student loans. You can't get out of it unless you're fucking dead, pretty much, right?
Okay.
That was his. When him and Obama were in office, Obama being a black man, you would think that he would have been able to go after all the systemic racism that's been in the system, but he didn't.
No, and here's the thing. It's a much more complicated issue than just being like, hey, racism's illegal.
No. It's complicated, but it is, but it isn't. They still did zero to help the reason why people are protesting today.
Right, but that's a talking point to get Trump reelected because Trump has done zero, but Trump also
he unfortunately has done more.
What? Show me the facts here. What has he done?
The First Step Act. About
No, I already showed you that on another podcast about how they passed it, but they're not following through on any of the steps, and they're actually making it worse.
No, 3,000 people were released early for nonviolent criminal offenses.
All right, I'm gonna find it again.
You know,
I said it like 5 podcasts ago. I read you this thing.
But before that, you know, like the unemployment rate for minority communities was the lowest it's ever been.
But hold on now.
If you have a job, crime goes low, crime goes down. Like it just.
No, that's a fact. That's a fact. But are you talking about carryovers from Obama's presidency now? Because unless you're talking about 2018, after 2018, it doesn't matter economically.
Yeah,
he didn't change anything.
Until coronavirus hit, the unemployment rate for pretty much all Americans was the lowest it's ever been, including minorities.
But it changes. You can't just somebody being there doesn't give them credit for something. You know what I mean?
No, but the policies he did that helped with opening up, if you're a minority, obviously if you're anyone, doesn't matter your skin color, you had an easier chance of getting a business loan. That's just that is a proven fact. So if you
I haven't heard this. This is news to me.
No, this is
a lot of talking points that I've never seen any facts on. They all sound brand new.
We talked about it. Even Chaz mentioned it. He goes, "Yeah, I absolutely agree. Trump's a businessman. I understand. Like I thought that he would make it easier for you to start your own business, and he did. He made it easier for you to start your own business, no matter what skin color you were. Obviously, it helped if you had, you know, it doesn't matter what skin color you were. So it definitely helped minorities, but it helped white people the same. It helped everyone the same. You know, it was actually very equal."
What is this law? I've never heard this law.
It wasn't a law. He got rid of restrictions. Like
but some of these restrictions have actually killed people. So like taking them away. So like
people, like physically kill people. Like people are dying now.
If you're no longer have to not dump chemicals in people's drinking water, it might not have killed them yet, but it will.
The fact that Flint hasn't been fixed yet is stupid.
Yeah. Also,
was a Democratic president, but take away the presidency. I think it was a Democratic mayor and a Republican governor that did that for Flint.
They fucked up.
That was actually the point where I realized that both parties are in the same.
Those people all fucked up. And here's what's worse, though, right? I don't know if you know this. Almost every water system in this country is a ticking time bomb to be in the exact same situation, and nobody will fucking help us if it happens. We'll just be drinking fucking poison water.
And we won't know. We will never know.
I mean, right now, people do tests, and there are look up online.
I'm in Los Angeles. We don't have a water system. We don't have a water the water we drink out of comes from someplace else. We live in a fucking desert. We don't have a water system. So like the water we drink,
it comes through your pipes somehow.
Right, it's there somehow, but like it's not from the ground that we live on. It's not like when we lived in Buffalo. It's like, no, we got these freshwater lakes right here. Yeah.
Right, but everyone has a water system that the water comes through in pipes, and that's what we're talking about. Because, like, hey, if people have plumbing in the desert, they still have a water system with pipes.
Yeah. And then you gotta just sit there and go, all right. So there was a meme that was posted. They're like, oh, you don't like the fact that there's children on the border in cages during Trump's, but you want to elect the guy who built the cages for the children.
Right. I mean, the thing is, like, you know,
it's like neither are good. Neither are good choices. Right. It's just neither are good choices in my eyes. I'm extremely pissed off that Jesse Ventura is not running. I feel like he might be, since Abraham Lincoln, the first third-party person or independent party candidate to actually win an election.
Abraham Lincoln wasn't third party. The only third party to ever win was George Washington.
No.
Yeah.
Abraham Lincoln was third party, wasn't he?
No.
Double check that.
It was a
light on your face.
What?
It was third party. Either that or it was just straight Republican. But
it was the new party. It was a new party, but it quickly rose to be one of the top two.
Right, but it was a brand new party before. So it was practically a third party.
Right.
Republican. If you
But the only one actually president who was a third-party elected president was George Washington.
well, defeat the British and create a new nation. You'll win an election.
He didn't even want to be president. They just wouldn't take no for an answer.
That was the best part about him. That's what I love about George Washington. He had zero interest in doing the job.
Yeah, he's like, I don't want to do this shit. I just sat in the woods for fucking years getting shot at. I don't want to do
That's
this shit.
where my laws came from. He's like, all right, fine. Like,
he's like, I'm an old man.
This long.
I'm an old man. I just want to go home.
I have wooden teeth. I'm just going to grow my hemp product.
His teeth were actually slave teeth, but,
Hey, whatever,
I'm sure that was pretty common. I'm not sure he was like, give me their teeth. It was like, those babies lost teeth, and we'll collect them.
That'd be creepy if that was not a thing until he did it.
Yeah, that would be some sick shit.
Right?
That would be like when Palin declared that if you bring the legs of endangered species and throw them on her desk, she'll give you money from the Alaska taxes. Like fucking
Palin. Oh man. She probably wasn't as bad as everyone made her out to be.
The thing is, first of all, she's not very smart, and she probably would have really fucked up things.
Well, she would have been VP, so she would have been whatever.
Yeah, she would have been the same, I guess.
It was funny. Someone made a comment about how the Democrats are all about women's rights, but when Sarah Palin ran for VP, they shit on her as if she was like the worst human being ever. And then women were like, it's like, come on, you can't tell me that you're for women's rights. And then when as far as the first woman VP of worth, in my time, comes up, you fucking shit on her and talk about how stupid she is and all this other stuff. Granted, it had nothing to do with her sex, but had everything to do with just the stupid
comment. Nobody was saying she was stupid because she was a woman. It was because she was saying stupid shit.
Right, but nowadays, if you say someone say AOC, she's kind of stupid, people are like, you're sexist. You don't like women. This is what it is. It's like, no, I didn't say that. No, that's exactly what you said. I heard it. This is how I felt. It's like, this is not what I meant. That's I think the comparison nowadays, where it's like, no one had problem talking shit about Sarah Palin and her policies, but if you talk about AOC and her policies, you're a sexist. That's why I hate both parties.
I mean, I think it goes both ways. I've read a study where, there's this very popular belief among conservatives that on social media that conservatives are being silenced, and it's very left leaning, and they only block or take down people who are conservative, or right. They do it to a greater degree. But they actually did a scientific study, and more often the people who were taken down, it had nothing to do with their political connection. It was that they were actually threatening people. So it just so happened that the conservatives might have just made more threats, I don't
know. I mean, as far as popular,
they did a sample where they took the amount of people blocked or whatever.
The amount of people that are conservatives that have been blocked, we'll go back with Benny Shapiro. Can't believe Marcus called him Benny.
Yeah,
so
whatever.
Ben Shapiro,
That's his name.
When Milo Yiannopoulos was banned from Twitter, just before he was, Ben Shapiro was the most racially segregated. He had the most hateful comments commented to him, anti-Semitic comments towards him than anyone else.
Okay.
Because of Milo Yiannopoulos. Once Milo Yiannopoulos got banned, and then all of a sudden those comments been banned. Now, Ben Shapiro's I don't think Milo should have been banned, even though because of him, I was the most targeted person for anti-Semitic racists, because he believes in free speech. And he felt sure. It's a platform. Milo should be able to say whatever he wants, unless it's, advocating violence against someone else.
Sure. But here's the thing. It's the same. It's still a business. It's like this. We were talking about kneeling in the NFL, right? Twitter's a business.
Kneeling in the NFL, yes.
Kneeling in the NFL is the same thing as they're a business. It's not It's
Yeah,
not. They're not saying you can't say this stuff. They're saying you can't say it here at our business.
what business is Twitter losing though?
Oh,
I
I
guess
don't.
we have to prove that they're losing money based on what certain people say.
I mean, I honestly don't know how they even make money. To be honest, I don't know how it works. I guess there are ads. Are there sponsored ads?
Has to
There
be.
must be. Like,
Yeah.
how else would it make any money except for selling the data of the tweets, which is a fucking shitload of money too. So
Yeah, which is weird that they would ban people unless they were promoting violence. You
right,
know, if you promote
unless they're
violence,
promoting something like
I've never
that.
met anyone on either side of the aisle that condones violence and
Yeah, I mean, I've seen people on Twitter posting about the extermination of races of people. So
oh yeah,
I could see them click report when that happens and going, yeah, this guy just said we should go down to this thing and put these people in a gas chamber. So it's free speech, but like that's gross, and you
right.
probably shouldn't say to kill people.
It's the dumbest fucking thing, but and you never hear anyone go, oh well, free speech. It's like no one's about violence. Like if you disagree with someone and you can make an articulate comment without, say, insulting them or threatening them.
No, you can even insult them. You just can't threaten them.
Right. But even if you insult them, like
that's the low class way to do it.
This is how I feel about say someone who loves AOC.
Mm-hmm.
People love her.
Sure.
And someone's like, oh, you're whatever, you're the C word, you're this. It's like, that's not necessary. None of that's necessary.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to tell her, well, I disagree with you because X, Y, and Z, it's a different story. But if you want to just like throw vulgarity at someone in a harshful way, and there's no actual open conversation, I can understand being cut, at least blocked for or shut down for a little bit. I can understand that. Granted, it's still free speech, but you want free speech, then speak. You don't have to insult someone. You don't have to call someone out. You don't have to call someone names. You don't have to justify yourself in that kind of aspect. But on the other hand, if you think something than someone else, and that's free speech, but they're like, it's kind of right-leaning, pull back on that. The whole thing with Steven Crowder, I know you don't follow him. I thought he was wrong.
About what?
I kind of like Steven Crowder. He makes me laugh.
What's he talking about? I don't know who this guy is.
100% wrong on what he was doing.
What was he doing?
What
was he doing? I don't know who he is.
Oh, he's a right-wing YouTuber on a show called Louder with Crowder. Obviously, it's his show. He actually has a really good video about infiltrating Antifa. That is actually very good. I recommend anyone who doesn't know or believe in Antifa to watch it, just because of that. But before that, he was insulting a guy on Vox. Like he used to break down Vox videos and just show where they're wrong or where they mislead. Like, oh yeah, well, their comment is kind of like it's half truths, and they're like, we'll tell you the whole truth. But
I don't know about that because Tim Pool tries to do that and he just pauses a video and then he makes up the last half. If you watch the real video, it's usually different than he's saying. He's really twisting it, and I'm just like, no man, you got to play the whole video if you're gonna fucking do that.
With Tim Pool, I feel like I feel like he's more honest, but we can.
I mean, I've seen him lie on every video I've seen, so I don't know about that.
Like I said, we can watch it. We can watch a video of his. Yeah. You can point it out to me. We can discuss it. Like, show me where I'm missing this because I don't see it personally. But I mean, show where I'm missing.
What his biggest shtick is, like that drives me crazy is like think about his entire thing.
Before we get into him, because he's not that big of a deal. But with Crowder, he's got like 4 million, 5 million followers, and he was talking about this guy on Vox, and he kept calling him a Sprite, and other homophobic names.
Okay.
And he wound up getting demonetized from YouTube because of it. And I was like, okay, yep, that makes sense. But YouTube told him he didn't break any laws. He didn't break any of their rules.
Here's the
I
thing.
was like, wait a minute.
I
I'm
need
like,
to
if you
see.
didn't break any of the rules, then why are you getting demonetized? Obviously, that's why you're getting demonetized. Personally, if you don't know the guy, you can't talk about something. If you don't know someone, don't talk about them like that. Like you and I, you want to tell me something, that's fine. We've known each other for a long enough time.
Yeah, you don't call a stranger whatever that is. But the
Right.
point is, I need to. Everyone says this about this guy, but I never saw the agreement he signed with YouTube. If they gave him right to demonetize him at his will, that's their business plan, and that's just his fault.
Oh, I mean, that's
Sucks to be him. He shouldn't have signed a dumb contract,
Well, no. I mean, he signed up in like maybe 2008.
No, but I didn't read the fine print when he did, so I don't know.
No. It was a California contract. They're California based, so it's a right to work state. So you can fire anyone for no reason.
Right, but it's not actually, you're not actually employed by them unless you sign a contract to create a YouTube channel for them.
True, but that's the thing. It's like if you don't break any of their rules, why can't you earn money from them though?
Oh, it's totally unfair, but
that is unfair.
It's their business. They could just take it away if they want. If he signed a contract saying they could just take it away if they want.
I mean, he's doing whatever with the lawyer thing. Yeah, and I agree with you. I also thought he was wrong, and he should be demonetized because of the things he was saying. That's how I felt.
Here's how I feel. At some point there was an agreement signed, or like, even if it's a check, I agree to terms on their website, at the very least, because I don't know if this guy had a YouTube contract, because some people get contracts with YouTube to create content.
There was a contract because he got signed way early on.
Right. So he might have had a contract to create for YouTube, and I don't know what the contract said. If the contract says they can fire him at will and he signed it, or they can demonetize him at will and he signed it, or they can reduce his income at will and he signed it, whatever it is, then they're not at fault. However, if they had one where they couldn't do that and they did it anyway and then said he did nothing wrong, but they don't care, then they're at fault. You know what I mean? But until I see the contract, I don't know who to side with.
Like I guess that's like if you want to put yourself in someone else's shoes, right? If someone tells you you did nothing wrong, oh, cool, but we're not paying you anymore. But I didn't do anything wrong. Yeah, but I can do whatever I want.
The only time I ever got fired, that's what happened.
Well, yeah, exactly. Like
it sucked.
Like, oh, okay. And then you gotta go back to yourself. It's like that's where like the whole right to work state like is, which is weird because California and New York, they're very union oriented, but they're also both right to work states. So you can get fired for anything they don't need a reason to fire you. They don't need a reason to not pay you. But if he's still submitting stuff to the YouTube, and YouTube is still getting 4 million plus hits a day because of him, and they had a contract where, hey, if you bring in this much many people, and then they cancel it and like that, I personally have a problem with it because.
I mean, here's the thing: even if they say Crowder broke the contract and they didn't, or vice versa, the fact that they're still taking money off of him, taking money from something that they used to take money from, but not giving him a cut, is unfair. Whether either one broke the contract, I guess. Yeah. Because if they broke the contract, they should end the relationship. They should be like, forget it.
They should just be like, hey, then no more views. Like, then you can't be watched on YouTube anymore. Yeah, right. Like they should just try to.
I mean, I guarantee, because they're owned by Google, they have the fucking most airtight contract to take every penny out of everyone they can find. I have no idea though.
Not sure. YouTube was hiring people. They were giving people money so that, because like before YouTube was big, they were giving people that had like minor audience contracts, and they were bringing them in and be like, hey, you can't post this anywhere else. You got to do it specifically through us, like Vimeo. You can't do it through them. You got to do it through us. Everything's through us. And then when everything's built through them, to go, we're gonna not give you more money.
So let me ask you this: he gives them he gives them new videos still for free?
Yes, I still watch some of his videos.
No, but he puts his new videos up there still.
He still has videos, not all of them, But
Or no, but what I'm saying, they're not old, they're new.
yes,
Okay.
because it is a good promotional tool.
Yeah.
That's why we put our stuff up there. Not
Mhm.
gonna lie, we don't monetize our stuff. Yeah,
Right.
we just
It'd be
put it up.
great if we could.
Well, it would be great if we got money from it. I don't think
Sure.
we will just yet. We're
Sure.
working on it. Yeah.
I don't know, man. It's a long way.
Whatever. I'm personally, I'm just happy that I'm hanging out with usually three of my best friends, at least once a week, just to make sure everyone's cool and everything's going all right. Marcus, Cash, and I have been playing some video games on Sundays, which maybe we'll start streaming just if other people
Why not?
watch us. They're like, hey, how bad are you at video games? I am
If you're
bad.
creating content, who knows, right?
Hey, like there's so much stuff. Video games, watching movies. Dude, I'm so into bad 80s movies right now. I want to bring back the real movie busters just so we can just do like watch parties on Facebook and just talk to people about these bad movies.
Have you watched well, you don't have Shudder. But he used to have a show on cable or whatever. The Last Drive-In with Joe Bob Briggs. That's what it is. He plays a really old, shitty horror movie, and he'll usually talk about it. Sometimes he'll have a guest. Like he had Chris Jericho on. I don't know if you know this, but Chris Jericho. This movie's so bad. Blood-Sucking Freaks is like, it's the worst. It's just gross. It's not even interesting plot. It's so bad. Have you seen it? It's garbage.
No.
It's the worst.
Chris Jericho might be my favorite wrestler of all time. I own all of his books.
So do you know the story?
Huh?
Do you know the story about the movie?
No, but I know he's had Eli Roth, who I don't care for Eli Roth movies at all. But if Eli Roth has a movie in the theater or I can buy, I will give him money because I like Eli Roth as a person. I love listening to him talk about movies. His knowledge of movies is so good. It is so good. If you get a chance to listen to Eli Roth talk movies, do it.
Yeah, he knows about movies. But anyway, so the show, The Last Drive with Joe Bob Briggs, he plays an old, usually 70s or 80s horror movie that's crappy, and he'll talk, like there's commercial breaks, like back in the day. It'll cut to him, and then they'll go back to the movie. Anyway, but he used to be on cable, and he would present movies like this. But he has Chris Jericho on because when Chris Jericho was in high school, he lived in a small town, I want to say Winnipeg, right? Which is a city, but small.
It's the Canadian version of Buffalo.
I'd say it's probably smaller than Buffalo.
No, I've been to both.
I know, but isn't Winnipeg smaller? I bet if you look it up, it's smaller.
Probably.
I mean, population wise, of the region, not of the actual city. But anyway, so he grew up in the 80s, 70s or 80s there, or 70s and 80s because he's that old. But in the 80s, he was in high school, and they had a club called the Bad Movie Club. They made a club actually in their school. They would find a movie from like the local like convenience stores would rent movies. Remember, everybody used to rent movies. You could rent movies anywhere back in the 80s. And they would find a movie, usually a cheesy horror movie, and they would watch it on their own, and then they'd present it to the club after school. And he found this movie, Blood-Sucking Freaks, which is such garbage. But I think Lloyd Kaufman and Troma distributed it, but then also like kind of backed away from it. So gross. So anyway, I think he saw the Troma name on it and was like, "Oh, this will be the kind of movie we want." And he watched it and was like, "Oh my god!" And then presented it.
A lot of movies.
I mean,
the rights to the first movie Al Pacino was ever in, or maybe Robert De Niro.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, Lloyd Kaufman's amazing.
Yeah, he's a nice guy. I like that guy. He talks a lot, but he's funny. His stories are interesting. He's like an old man. His roommate used to be. He told me this. His roommate was Oliver Stone. They're in college.
I know he went to college with Oliver Stone and George W. Bush. They both went. Yeah. They all went to Yale together.
Yeah. And it's funny because it's just like, first of all, I'm like, Oliver Stone is as old as you, Lloyd? You're as old as dirt, He just must have looked like an old man younger, you know what I mean?
Right. One went through Vietnam and the other didn't. But yeah, right. The other one who didn't still looks older as fuck. Yeah.
It might be the cocaine in Oliver Stone just still in there. I don't know.
No, coke makes you look a lot older.
Well,
It dries
I
your
don't know.
skin up. So I hear.
I don't know what's going on with Oliver Stone. Maybe he got some alien DNA or some demon penis,
He's his.
baby foreskin
I
cream.
highly recommend listening to. Did you listen to his on him and Joe Rogan talk?
No, I don't listen to Joe Rogan's pod. I don't listen. I don't like listening to like these long podcasts about serious topics. Believe it or not, I want my serious topics to be short and sweet, and I like my
I
long
feel like
podcasts to be funny.
I feel like you would like one. I mean, as a person who's interested in making movies and movies, listening to Oliver Stone talk about movies,
Oh, sure, sure,
it is you learn. You know,
sure, of
listen to
course.
someone that good, that good talk movies, you will
Yeah,
learn. Like, you
of course.
will know. So like, that's why I think you should listen. One, definitely listen to it
Yeah, I
because
mean, I don't dislike Joe Rogan. I just
oh
he
no,
puts out a podcast puts out podcasts constantly, and they're like 3 hours long. I just don't have that kind of time.
no. I mean, like you gotta like if you drive or like you have an hour commute to somewhere, you throw on his podcast, you listen an hour. You know, there maybe you listen to the other another hour back, and if you feel like still listening, you might finish up the other hour.
I've got so many hours of when I worked in that show Masters in the museum, I had to listen to podcasts to find ideas and research for stories. I had to read constantly nonfiction stuff and constantly digging. So I'm like behind on podcasts I already listened to by like 2 years.
Yeah,
I might give it a chance sometime if it's somebody I really want to hear talk. But
with Joe
usually
Rogan,
I'll stick to just comedy stuff.
he's had a lot of people on there recently, and I'm just like, eh. But like, Rob Zombie was on there. I listened to him talk, and obviously, I'm not going to pass up Oliver Stone. I don't know another interview with Oliver Stone in the past 10 years, maybe 20 years. I can't think of another Oliver Stone interview.
I don't know. I mean, the thing is, when was the last time he had a movie out?
Right. But like, when
even
was the last
remember.
time he made a movie that was bad? Like his knowledge on stuff and
W is his last movie, which is 2008.
that was good. It was
He
good.
hasn't had a movie in 12 years. No wonder no one's interviewing him. He's got what are they going to ask him?
When was the last time he was interviewed though? You know, like I can't think of like people talking to Oliver Stone about anything.
I've seen him interviewed before, and him wearing like a bandana and stuff.
Yeah, but when it's fun because when you're able to sit down with someone for 2 hours, you can actually learn a lot more than maybe.
They interviewed him in 2017 about interviewing Vladimir Putin.
Huh.
A lot of people interviewed him back then because he interviewed Putin.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
he's good. If you don't mind Joe Rogan, like I'd recommend listening to Rob Zombie and Oliver Stone. As far as podcasts and movies go, if you listen to Jericho's podcast and Eli Roth is on there a lot. Amazing.
we should stop telling people to listen to other people's podcasts on our podcast.
I don't mind it. Look, I'm really fine.
They're like, oh yeah, I like those guys better than these people.
Well, here's the thing:
everyone likes Chris Jericho.
If someone listens to their podcast and goes, "Oh shit," Shawn and Nick were right, they'll listen to us more.
Well, I mean, what they really should listen to is those episodes of the Jericho podcast we were on and the Rogan podcast we were on. So they should dig those up and find them, because then they'd know more about our show, and it would it would refer them back to our show.
Yeah, unfortunately, we're not on their podcast.
What? Yes, we are.
You
don't know. You won't know. No, I don't. I'm trying to tell them to listen to every one of their podcasts to find it. Forget it. No, we're not on there.
No, we're not. Yeah,
if you've listened to this podcast for any length of time, which is fucking 3.5 hours or something, like, then
3.5 right now.
You're already a saint. You don't have time to listen to Joe Rogan's podcast.
No, you do. You have plenty of time.
Shawn, if you don't cut this down, I'm gonna be a total hypocrite saying Joe Rogan's podcast are 3 hours and I don't have time for him. Look at this.
Well, the crazy thing is the guy's got 10 million followers. So three hours is not long enough. Like, people either want it really fast or really slow. Like, there's no in between.
No, you know what? There were 3 comedians who had a 10-minute podcast I used to listen to. And one of them was Brian Callen from the Goldbergs that we were talking about the other day. I was just like, when you guys were saying his name, I'm just like, who are you talking about? Oh, yeah.
Amazing.
The other 2 guys were comedians. It was 3 comedians.
Power movies? Was he
What?
not the best part of the Rush Hour movies?
I saw the first one, and I hate the night it came out, and I hated it, so I never rewatched him.
My dad's a huge Jackie Chan fan.
By the
So
way, talking about conspiracy theories and like pizza and hot dog codes, like Chris Tucker actually traveled around with Epstein and
yeah,
right?
he's probably a pedophile
He could be. The thing is this, right?
now, or at least he's cool with it.
The thing is, you don't know because look, I was on a plane with what's his name, General Flynn. I'm not involved with him. I was just on the same plane. I know it's a private plane, but you know, if this rich guy is like, oh, we're gonna do human,
plane to a certain island is probably different because
it's different. But let me say this, like,
look, I was on a plane with a pedophile. I know that for a fact. He sat next to me. We actually vacationed together.
What? Who the fuck are you talking
about? I didn't tell you this story?
I don't think so. This is new to me.
So I was dating a girl named Christina and her friend Steve. Stevie G, we called him. I didn't know him at all, but we were meeting Christina's best friend who lived in Maine down in Florida for her family had like a condo. And like the four of us, it was basically a free place to stay and then we could just do whatever we wanted in Florida. So it was pretty cool. So Steve joined us. I met him once and he didn't believe me that I was her boyfriend. So it was like a really weird, but then we sat down and I was like, that's Pirates hat. The Pittsburgh Pirates hat. He goes, yeah, it's my favorite team. I was like, dude, it's my favorite baseball team too. And he's like, yeah, me and my dad go to a game at least once a year. He was talking about how like him and his dad were like this. And me and him became best friends. We hit it off easily, really good. So much that like when me and Christina broke up, like if I saw Steve around, I'd be like, hey man, how you doing? How you been? Blah, blah, blah. 2 years ago, he got caught as far as child pedophilia. He was posing as a girl on Instagram, getting nudes from 13-year-old boys. He was also a teacher or a substitute teacher / basketball coach at JFK High School in Cheektowaga. He went to high school with almost all the people I play fantasy football with. None of us knew he was a fucking pedophile. No one had any idea. This guy, someone was like, hey man, what do you think of this guy? But like, he's a solid guy. Trust me, I know people. I don't know people. I was 100% wrong. So I understand if you jump on a plane with someone and fly around, you don't know who they really are. I completely understand that.
I mean, the fact that saying someone on the same plane is guilty, I don't necessarily believe that's true, but like this guy makes me suspicious. You know what I mean?
I literally called this guy my friend.
Right.
Until I'm like, he's a fucking pedophile?
But I'm suspicious, And
I wasn't even suspicious about that because there was like the Swedish couple.
No, I'm talking about the other. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about the other situation.
Oh, right. But like, there was literally, we were in the pool and like they were changing their kids. Like their kids were changing out. They're out. Like, but they're like the kids were naked and they weren't like blocking them with towels or whatever. And me and him, we thought we were whispering to each other, but it was over water, so it just carried over everything. And like Christina and her friend were like, "Hey, assholes, we can fucking hear you." Because we were like, "Dude, why would you fucking do this shit in front of everyone? Why are you getting your kid naked in front of everyone? This is fucking weird."
Meanwhile, under the water, he had a boner.
Right, under the water, he's over going like, well, no, it was I think it was a girl, so he was probably fine. He was into boys. Yeah.
So in your pizza hot dog codes, what does it say about the 14? You know why Epstein went to jail, right?
Which time?
Nobody knows. What?
Which time he went? He like back in like early on,
when he was convicted in Florida and he got an illegal plea deal.
Oh, that time? Yeah, no, I have no idea.
See, people talk about pizza codes and going to a pizzeria. He was convicted of taking a girl from Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate and making her his sex slave at 14. Trump employed these 14-year-old girls at the spa of Mar-a-Lago, where Epstein was a member, and they became his sex slaves. And that's what he went to jail for. And then he got a plea deal in Florida that was illegal because you have to get permission that you're letting him off the hook from the victims in Florida. And they let him off. The person who made that plea deal was given a job as labor secretary in Trump's White House. So like that's a little bit more telling to me than like an email that someone says one guy used to order pizza.
Well, here's the thing, like I'm perfectly fine with believing that both are involved.
They could all be involved. I'm just saying, before I'm accusing anyone, I want more proof. You know what I mean?
Well, that's the thing. Like a lot of people just like, oh yeah, fucking yeah, he died. Good for him. It's like no, he has
Right.
so much information on
No.
people that we vote for, that choose our laws, that
The
run
thing
this
is,
country.
what's weird about that guy's death is, right? Almost everyone thinks, look, I think it's possible. It's very unlikely, but it's possible he committed suicide. But it's very unlikely.
Right.
The camera also went off. Come on.
No,
Why did the camera go off?
about it proves that either he committed suicide,
Right.
or
So
I'm sorry,
yeah.
no, he killed himself, or that he was murdered. He was murdered.
Whatever it is,
Yeah.
the fact that he died without being able to spill more beans, no one is happy about. Do you know what I mean?
No,
because people who don't like Trump are like, he had more to say about what Trump's involvement was. I mean, he was convicted of trafficking 14-year-old girls who were employees of Trump into sex slavery. That's what he went to jail for. That's proven by law, you know? And then it's like, and then that guy got a job in Trump's White House. And when it came out, Trump, let him go. Had to let him go to save face. But so then, and said, oh, I didn't know about it. But like, to me, it's crazy. That's not a news story. But anyway, but then the other side is like, yeah, but Clinton's on those flight logs, and he's Democratic, and it's like, nobody wanted that guy entirely, except for people who had something to hide.
Both sides were like, we fucking got you, and there's a high possibility that both sides were correct. Like they might both be going down for this, and we're kind of just stuck. Right. Unfortunately, but now we got Maxwell, and hopefully, the crazy thing to me is that Epstein was murdered without like a fail-safe button. I watched enough movies where it's like, if I die, I'm gonna release on the internet all the sex tapes of all the powerful people in the world doing.
Yeah. I mean, that's a movie trope that you could press a button and do that, though, because
it's not press a Trump like a button, but it's like, like say you
he would need to have put in, because he was in prison, right? So he'd have to put in
you gotta know that that's a possibility, right? You gotta know that you have leverage on all these people.
Yeah,
but
he's got leverage on someone.
If you have leverage on someone, if you get killed, like what's then if the leverage means nothing if you don't have a failsafe to go, right. Oh, if I die, you're all going down. Like I'm taking everyone with me.
He would need a partner on the outside, because what's he doing in prison? He can't do shit.
Well, before you go to prison, you got videotapes of people doing this. Maxwell apparently has videotapes of a lot of powerful politicians doing this. So
that's alleged. We don't know that she does or doesn't.
Right, but it's like, why wouldn't you? Do you really trust all these politicians?
First of all, think about this, right? If they had these giant mansions, there's probably a surveillance camera, right?
Right.
And if this is going down there, there's probably footage of some of it, at least incriminating enough to be like, those two went into it. That grown man went into a closed bedroom with that underage girl for 3 hours. You know what I mean? Yeah. Even if you don't see the actual act, there's something, I'm sure.
I mean, there was, there's what was it? In 2016, ABC almost broke the story about Epstein and a woman that was claiming to do it, and they held on to it because Bill Clinton was involved, and it was during the 2016 election.
I've heard this, but I've also looked up that she was basically not very credible, they found.
I mean, I feel like, isn't everyone that says this not credible? Because the majority of the people that they are accusing.
Well, that's why news outlets, like if you're gonna say something defamatory about someone on your show, on your news station, you have more at risk than these shitty websites and Twitter. Like, so you get blocked on Twitter.
Not anymore.
What do you mean, not anymore?
Well, I mean, well, I mean, obviously, go back to Tulsi Gabbard. Like, they had no problem saying, "Oh, well, Hillary Clinton said this," you know. So now they're not connected to the inflammatory remarks, whether they're true or not. It's because someone else said it. Oh, we have this interview with someone, and this is what she has to say. There's nothing wrong with saying, like, unless they're like, "Hey, this person did it because this person said it." If they go, "This is what they," and then they can have the person go, "Please, like, uh, tell your side of the story," and whether they do it or not, that's up to them, right?
Right, but the thing is this: they, in their video, because I worked there, and legal had to make sure I didn't say anything bad, like at all. Like it was like we cannot say anything bad in an interview about someone. We have to have facts, So, like one guy, I'll give you an example. Like one guy had like a swastika tattoo, and some other guy commented like, well, "There you go," and he's like, "We can't say that." It's
Yeah,
like you can't defame his character.
If you have a big enough name, if you're a big enough name, and
Right. The situation is they still abide by the rules where if you accuse someone, you have to give them a chance. So they could, or you have to have multiple people back the story up. This is just one person backing it up. They can't corroborate it with anyone else. They can't defend themselves. That's why they chose not to air it. Is what I read, and I've seen that work there. Like they it's not just an opinion piece when you're actually accusing someone of something.
well, I mean but that's the thing. Like with say Trump, the Russia gate, like unfortunately, like there wasn't enough proof. So how are all these people being able to say there's proof when there was no proof?
I mean, I heard the proof.
It's like when Hillary Clinton says she's a Russian asset, and others, it wasn't Fox News because Tulsi went on Fox News and was able to talk a lot, which is why everyone was like, "Oh, she's Republican. She's just trying to take votes away from the Democrats. She's going to run as an independent, and help Trump." That was the whole thing. But it's like, no, you had that. You said she was a Russian. Where's your facts? Oh, we don't have facts. We're just stating what someone else said. So when people play both sides of the ball, like we're a trustworthy station. We do this. What about that? What about with the whole trust? Tulsi and Russian.
Well, I'm going to look it up right now to see. ABC News broadcast Gabbard defending herself against the accusations.
She went on The View, who called her a useless idiot and a Russian an Assad apologist.
Well, I'm reading it right now. Manchester, New Hampshire. The Hawaii Congresswoman fought back unsparingly after Clinton appeared to have called her the favorite of Russians in a recent interview and said she believes the Russians have got their eye on somebody who's currently in the Democratic Party and grooming her to be a third-party candidate. Clinton, the former U.S. Secretary of State and 2016 Democratic presidential candidate, did not name Gabbard directly. In a series of tweets Friday, Gabbard called Clinton the personification of the rot that has sickened the Democratic Party for so long. Gabbard also alleged there's been a concerted campaign to destroy her reputation since she announced her presidential run in January. It's now clear this primary is between you and me, Gabbard tweeted about Clinton. Don't cowardly hide behind your proxies. There's a lingering trepidation that the Democratic Party repeats, blah, 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 blah. But, they're reporting, oh, here, she's a favorite of the Russians, Clinton said. Clinton also said, Clinton called Trump Vladimir Putin's dream. She wanted to say that Trump's inauguration speech was like declaration of whatever. So anyway, I guess it doesn't look like Gabbard said it in this article at this point that she wasn't a Russian operative. But when you get a crazy accusation, sometimes it's best not to deny it. It's just like fuck you.
Well, that was the whole thing. The especially on The View, they were like, "Well, we never heard her say she isn't."
Okay, see again, that's one of those opinion shows too. Like this is
a major in the National Guard. She's part of the army. She's a sitting congresswoman. To say that she's a Russian asset, you would think that means a lot more than just, oh, well, it's politics.
I mean, there's all these articles on ABC in which when Gabbard sued Hillary Clinton for defamation for saying that.
Yeah, like no one's ever said she isn't, right?
I mean, only she can say she isn't. They
Yeah, but
can't say
ABC
she
never
isn't.
said she isn't.
What?
ABC never said she wasn't, and they never were held liable to say she wasn't.
They
So
never said she
if you
was either, though.
a Congress person, and a major in the fucking National Guard, that they're a Russian spy and a traitor, you would think that you would need more than just, I don't know.
They didn't.
You should be able to that's a lie. If it's not a lie, you have to prove that you're telling the truth, right?
No, see, what they're reporting is someone accusing her of it.
Okay.
They're not saying she is. They're not saying for a fact that she is. In these articles, at least, I'm
So
reading.
what's the difference of this other girl accusing Bill Clinton of being a rapist?
Well, because from what I understand, that was a sit-down interview with ABC, not a reporting of a situation of a public speech.
What's the difference?
They have different standards of practice. I don't know. I don't have an answer for
I mean, like, I'm serious. Like, what's the difference? If ABC could tell someone that a sitting congresswoman is a Russian asset,
but what you're seeing is they didn't tell her, because I think it comes down to this: when someone is accused in your interview, it's your responsibility as a journalist to be like, really, because that's why people, when Trump on Fox News, even they support him usually. But when he says something, like he said something crazy about someone recently, and they're like, Mr. President, that's not true. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if it's a sit-down interview and they're calling out something unfactual, you can rebut and say, hold on now, are you sure? Can you provide me a source to this? You know, but when it's a report of a public speech,
if the person is the source, if the person
yes, but in your situation, in your sit-down interview for your network. Now, if you're reporting from a speech that happened, that's a public event, and it's not, you have no control over it. It's not a back and forth between your journalist interviewing someone to get to the bottom of the story. I think that's the difference. At least that's what it seemed to be to me, because ours was a sit-down interview.
It comes off as bullshit, is what it comes off as. It's like,
yeah.
Oh, no, we didn't say it, someone else did, so we're not liable. But we'll continue to reiterate what she said.
I mean, I'm seeing more things where they're saying they're basically that she's rebutting over it than saying that it's true on ABC, at least. I can't look at every news source.
No, but ABC's never yet said, no, she's not. Until, they didn't get off grass until she supported Biden.
Right, but that's what you have to remember, though. They don't have to say that because they never said she was.
Yeah, they did.
When
on The View. I know
but that's opinion.
Piece, right? An opinion piece. The same
it's
people
opinion.
could have easily have had this girl who was on the fucking pedophile island tell her story as an opinion piece. There was, especially immediately after Hillary Clinton lost the election. Once she lost the election, it's like, why are you holding on to this story?
I don't have a legal degree. I'm just telling you the difference is when they don't actually, I'd have to see, what did they say on The View, actually? I'd have to see the exact words. Because you can word things. A
useless idiot and a Russian spy and an Assad apologist.
Wait, what? Say that again?
She was a useless idiot, a Russian spy, and an Assad apologist.
All right, I'm going to look it up. The View
Hold on.
Tulsi useless idiot Russian apologist.
No, Russian spy, Assad apologist.
Well, it should all come up. Tulsi Gabbard. So Joy Behar said it.
Yeah, whatever. Right. I don't know how to pronounce her name. Yeah, she called her out. She said it. She's friends with Clinton. Just Clinton said it. Now,
sure.
Huh?
Sure.
Yeah, but here's the thing that's crazy. Hillary Clinton said, I didn't mean Russian, I meant Republican. Hillary Clinton said that after she called her a Russian spy. ABC still ran with that she was a Russian asset.
I mean,
never said, she made a mistake.
Look, you're really crossing wires here because, all right, you got to show me the exact words, because saying ABC says is not a person, we're talking about hundreds of thousands of people didn't all get together and say it. So
if you're allowed to say something on ABC, The View, run by ABC, especially because they have two shows. There's The View and then there's the View Political. They have a political show. They're talking about politics to the suburb, basically suburban moms. Now they're talking like that's supposed to be factual. If they say that this person's a Russian asset, but quoting someone, even and then don't correct themselves after the person.
Wait a minute.
Now you're giving false information.
Wait a minute. Wait. Tulsi Gabbard was on the show when Shoaib Behar said this stuff?
No. She went on the show, though, and called her out. It was amazing.
Because,
That's what I love about Tulsi Gabbard. She went on the show, sat down next to Joy, and was like, hey, I have some facts to fucking correct for you.
Shawn, that's the exact thing you're accusing them of not doing.
No.
That you literally the old fact was someone says something about you, you have a week to bring them on the show to as a rebuttal. They brought her on.
Was it a week?
I don't know how long it was, but that's also an old law that the Reagan administration got rid of. But the fact is, they brought her on to get.
They don't need to bring someone on. They don't need a rebuttal.
Not anymore, but
watch what
they did.
Watch the videos, and then just let me know what you think, because they were like, "Oh, I didn't say that. Oh, that's a Russian term. That's a Russian term." Joy Behar was a fucking bitch.
Okay, listen, I'm not getting it. I don't know anything about Joy Behar or whatever, but listen, this is what I'm reading right here, right? They brought Tulsi Gabbard on, and they played the clip of Clinton saying this about her, and then Gabbard says, this is a direct quote, "Really? This is offensive and outrageous on so many levels." And then she went on to cite her post 9/11 military experience. Like they aired it. This. Right. She denied. They gave her a chance, and you're accusing them of something they actually did, of not doing something they did.
I'm accusing them of one. When Hillary Clinton, about a week later, Hillary Clinton said, "I didn't mean Russian, I meant Republican."
Okay.
Instead of saying we were wrong, this is what she meant, and then bring her on to defend that, they continued with the propaganda that she's a Russian asset and an Assad apologist. To basically.
So what you're telling me, hold on, the timeline is real screwed up here. So first of all, you're saying they broadcast that Hillary Clinton said that she was these things, right? And then they brought her on The View, and Joy, and
before they brought her, I mean, they brought her on The View to printers maybe a month after they made these comments.
Okay, so Hillary Clinton made the comments.
Yes.
Then Joy Behar, and when did Joy Behar make the comments?
She reiterated those same things not too long after. And then about a month after that, then they brought Tulsi Gabbard on to defend herself. But that was a month later.
Yeah, but I think you have a week to reach out. I don't think you have a week to air it. I think you have a week to reach out. Also, again, the old law. But they try to go by the old standards and give people a fair shake. Because that's what all these old broadcast companies do.
But yet you've never seen them say, they never cover up for the fact that when Hillary said she said Russian, she meant Republican, they never said, "Oh, we want to correct it. It's this."
Are you talking about The View?
Yes.
Because every show and every news, you keep saying ABC, but every show on ABC is a different group of people make it, and it airs at different times and different. It's not all one. It's not like one head like Fox News has like just a handful of people at the top. You know, Fox News.
The View is, especially when they have their political show.
Yeah.
Are over here slandering someone who is a military a major in the military.
Sure. So I agree. It sounds like that she was slandered by Joy Behar, is what you're telling me. But then they brought her on the show, and then she denied it, and that's exactly what you should do.
Yeah.
So they don't have to then issue an apology, and if they do, it's on Joy Behar, not on the show.
No. If you're on the show, it's part of the show. That's what it is.
Yes.
Joy Behar has been on that show longer than Whoopi Goldberg. So if she makes a comment, it's part of that View. And the View reaches X amount of women, suburban voters.
Yes.
In certain states. But if you don't reach out, because you don't have to, like you were saying, they don't have to for an certain amount of time, already certain places vote. And now the voting goes down because of these false accusations. And the media can make false accusations without repercussions right now. I forget how we got
there are always repercussions if people take legal action. But from what I understand, The View is a political show, not a factual news show. It's a political opinion show. No,
I don't understand the difference anymore.
that's the thing. Is these companies are fucking blending.
What's the difference anymore with MSNBC, CNN, Fox News? Right. The majority of the people that watch it, or they always watch the opinion pieces where
because they're more popular. That's why Fox News makes millions more and has way more viewers than any of the others. They're the richest one.
They're the only conservative side. So if you think like a third of the country is conservative and the third is liberal and the third don't give a shit,
right?
But liberal has to deal with MSNBC, CNN, and
right. But this would be how capitalism works. A second company that's conservative should move in and start taking a piece of that market. So if anything, CNN or MSNBC or whatever would become more conservative to get more money.
The rumor was,
instead of sharing it.
The rumor was Trump had zero interest in winning the election. He just wanted a lot of airtime to start another conservative news network, but then he wound up winning the fucking presidency.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely.
And I completely think that's true because of the way he just
there's proof that he was looking into starting his own network.
All right, yeah. I don't think he wanted to be president. I just think he wanted to get as much airtime as he could to push a new network, and then he wound up winning the presidency.
Yeah. I mean, so here's the thing. Some shows are political opinion and some are news. If they don't say it's the news, like for example, this show's called The View, and it voices the views of this group of women. That one's a little more obvious that it's not news, because it's a bunch of fucking not news people sitting around talking about stupid shit, and it's called The View. But there's shows called, I don't know, Viewpoint. I don't know what's I don't watch these shows because I don't give a shit about anybody's opinion.
Right. The only reason why I watched it is because I wanted to hear Tulsi Gabbard talk.
Right. So the thing, from what I'm finding is, and I don't, I haven't seen all these clips because I don't watch The View, but what I'm finding is there are tons of ABC news articles saying that, reporting that she went on and defended herself and that these remarks are ridiculous and offensive and, and that's ABC News putting out there, The View might not have apologized, but again, The View isn't news.
Right, but that's like
it's definitely blurring the lines.
It's like Fox News. It's like I'll go with say Tucker Carlson.
Mm-hmm.
He makes a false accusation about a prominent DNC or Republican. We'll say Republican because
okay.
And a month later, that Republican's able to come on and defend himself.
Mm-hmm.
In a month, who gives a fuck anymore? Especially
nobody gives a fuck. Nobody gives a fuck. Why don't I look up the old law for you? Because I don't remember exactly. I know there's something to do with the week. Fuck.
Yeah,
I sent it to you.
I remember they used to have it, like, if you make an inflammatory comment about someone, there was, like, you had 7 days to, like, you couldn't make it without having them rebut with 7 days. And then that's true. I'm not going to tell you who I learned that from.
Probably for me, because I sent you guys the article months ago. I know you never read it.
Oh, no, I don't read articles. I listen to people read me articles while I drink coffee and stare at the fucking sunrise. I can't wait 3 hours for them to get to the point. I just I read quicker. Anyway. I'm a slow reader. I've always been, but I blame shitty teachers.
What do you say?
They never understood what I wanted to read. They're like, "Hey, read this book." It's like, why? I like wrestling, sports. I'll read an autobiography.
I remember a lot of elementary school. We were allowed to read whatever we wanted, but in high school it was like, you read this.
Elementary school, I remember the woman. I forget her name. She was older. She had fake plants, and she accidentally kept watering them every day.
I don't remember that.
But she gave me it was like a wolf and something, and like I wound up just faking it. And she's like, Shawn, did you read it? I was like, no. She's like, why not? That. I don't care. Like any book, because I mean, granted, back in the day, there was no wrestler autobiographies, which is what I really got into.
There was. I mean, in elementary school, that's how I learned that Nike Wayne Gretzky story. I read Wayne Gretzky's.
Wrestler.
Oh, wrestler?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
It really wasn't until just after high school, or just before, wrestlers started writing autobiographies, and I was flying through them like, this is amazing. This is what I want. Why aren't all books like this? I truly just, a lot of books I don't care about, unfortunately. I always wanted to be a reader because they always wrote better. Their vocabulary was better. They always seemed like the smartest kids in Queen of Heaven. I just couldn't wrap my head around just sitting down and reading a book with small print. It's like, maybe a choose your own adventure book. I'd get into that, but I
love those. But I don't know. I think reading is more. You got to find what you like. And look, if some people, it's real hard because you have a lot of distractions and stuff too, right? But when I was a kid, I could sit in a room and read and be entertained by a good book for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, I just personally never found those books that I thought were good. I'll play video games, I'll watch wrestling. I'll play with G.I. Joes and have them wrestle. I was really into wrestling. So
Yeah.
it was just if you don't catch my attention in the first 5 pages, I don't expect you to catch it in the next 100. Very very short-minded in that aspect. One of the things I always wish I was good at was I'm gonna go read this. It just never bothered me. Never cared. All right, Nick, you know the tags a lot better than I do.
Yeah. If you listen to our old podcasts, they might be wrong, but the current tags are at 4 Men Podcast, MEN, 4 Men, the number 4 Men Podcast on Twitter, on Instagram, and we're on Facebook. Hit the likes, hit the comments on the YouTube. Tell us how we suck. I don't even care at this point. I don't even care if you tell us why we suck. Just tell us we suck. I don't care. I dare you. I will rip you to shreds in the comments. I dare you.
You know what?
I'm locked in one room. Unemployed. I dare you to leave me a negative comment. I dare you. Your life will be completely stuck in the comments of YouTube for days.